And welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. When it comes to home or business security, be sure to talk to the folks who have people right here in East Tennessee. I've used these people for years, and if you're like me, you like having your house watched, your business watched by people who are here. That way you're not dealing with somebody in Indonesia or Mississippi or wherever. It's good to be able to call somebody. If you need work on your system, they're right here in town. The local leaders, Safety Systems. Give J.J. Surlis, VFL, a call this week. All right, back to the 15 biggest storylines of the year, and we're at 12, 11, and 10, but we'll let you guys debate which is actually the biggest. Jeremy Pruitt's relationship with Phillip Fulmer. Right now it looks pretty good, but who knows how people mesh. Could be better than expected, could be worse, there could be hang-ups. Then you got the next one, questions along the offensive line. They did have a piece added to the puzzle, as we discussed earlier, but still question marks there. And then finally, question marks at the cornerback position as well. That's a spot where Jeremy Pruitt has been looking for grad transfers to add. So, gentlemen, of those three, which one's the biggest storyline that you want to watch in 2018?
I think I'm going to go with the relationship between Pruitt and Fulmer because the offensive line, the cornerback situation, Tennessee just doesn't have a lot of talent. I think long term, going beyond 2018, what is the relationship between Pruitt and Fulmer? Because if you're still talking about problems at corner and offensive line in 2020, then the relationship between Pruitt and Fulmer is the big thing, because if you still have problems, 3 years into your program, then you've got really big problems. So I think that's going to be number one. See how those two mesh.
Thoughts?
That's a fair point, but I guess I'm looking at cornerbacks because I think Tennessee, first off, you start with West Virginia, which is one of the best passing teams in the country. During the spring, you took a guy at wide receiver, moved him to cornerback, and he started the spring game. I don't know if Schamberger is going to be one of your corners or Buchanan or who it's going to be. I just think that's such a glaring weakness. That's a big concern. The offensive line, sometimes you can mask it with great players around you.
Yeah, which is questionable.
If you had Dobbs or Kamara, that would help.
Yeah.
But I just think cornerback to me is a spot that's going to be really difficult for Tennessee to overcome.
But potentially the former Pruitt relationship could be, because look at what's going on with Mike Gundy and his AD at Oklahoma State this week. But I don't see any reason right now to feel alarmed about Pruitt and Fulmer getting along. So I'm going to go with Jimmy and the cornerbacks, because if they can just pick you apart out there, picking on your cornerbacks, how are you going to get your defense off the field?
Yeah, and with Jeremy Pruitt, the cornerbacks and physical cornerbacks, and a lot of times playing more of the press coverage, is such a big part of what he wants to do and what Alabama a lot of times have done. And just to kind of take another side, it has to be some concern, a big concern, as we've talked about, the offensive line. And who is going to show up? If you've got to grad transfer at center, who are the guards going to be? I think you've got some tackles, but who are your guards going to be? And when is Drew Richmond? This is a contract year. He needs to show up.
Well, the offensive line, I'll lean in that direction too. I think your rationale for the Pruitt-Fulmer
Probably more
relationship,
long term than 2018.
but I think this is when we start to figure it out.
But-
And no relationship's perfect, so there will be hiccups. The question is, how many are there? And one thing that I find interesting is, there's only one other AD in the country that was a former football coach, and that's Barry Alvarez of Wisconsin, who's done a really good job there. He's also had a hard time keeping head coaches. They've won, but they've tried to get the heck away from Barry Alvarez. How hands-on is Phillip Fulmer going to be? He wants Jeremy Pruitt to lean on him, and he wants to be there for him like Doug Dickey was.
Yeah.
But the difference is Phillip Fulmer had played for Doug Dickey. There was already a level of respect and a connection there that was 20 years old by the time he worked for him as a head coach AD relationship. Pruitt and Fulmer don't have that, so it's got to be more manufactured. So it is important. However, to me, the offensive line. The offensive line is the biggie to me, because we saw it last year. If you don't have a good offensive line,
No,
you can't do anything. What do you do well if you don't have a good offensive line?
Especially give the quarterback time to throw. And I think it would be a lot different if Phillip Fulmer had not hired Jeremy Pruitt. I think those two are kind of connected, and I think they will be for 4 years, and see how it goes. And plus, don't forget, I think Coach Fulmer can handle a lot of the media responsibilities that Jeremy Pruitt may not be quite as comfortable with, and a lot of the PR things. So I think they help each other.
Oh, I think potentially yes, but let me flip it on you. At what point is Phillip Fulmer there's still writers in this town who are giving Fulmer credit for anything Pruitt does. It's like, well, and Philip Fulmer's there with him. Maybe Pruitt's good with that. Maybe Pruitt's aces with that and loves sharing the credit. Or is there a time when he says, excuse me, I want to get out of the shadow here? I just think that it bears watching. That relationship to me,
Great.
just like any coach-AD relationship, but when you bring back a former coach, that's an interesting deal when he's the AD. When we come back, we've got more to go through. We've got more names to throw out here, and we will do so. More storylines, the top ones for 2018. Come on back on the Sports Source.